War didn't arrive screaming. It arrived with manners. The alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling cathedral, smooth, silent, and utterly confident. It didn't burn. It didn't roar. It simply displaced the sky, casting a shadow over oceans, cities, and deserts alike. Every satellite tracked it. Every radar screamed warnings. Every nuclear silo stood ready. Yet the ship ignored them all. It parked above the Pacific Ocean, perfectly centered between continents, like a guest choosing the head of the table. Then it spoke. Not with sound, worse. It spoke through every screen, every phone, every cockpit display, every digital billboard. A face appeared. It wasn't monstrous. That was the first insult. Pale gray skin stretched over something that resembled a man who had never known hunger, fear, or doubt. Its eyes were black and endless, like calm water hiding a storm. People of Earth, it said. We are the Ascendancy. You are being evaluated. Not conquered. Evaluated. Around the world, generals cursed. Presidents sweated. Religious leaders prayed. Economists faintly panicked. But soldiers understood. Anyone who opens with "you are being evaluated" has already decided to kill you. The alien continued, voice calm and perfect, filling every corner of the globe. We have observed your species for 312 of your years. Your violent tendencies exceed acceptable thresholds. Your technological progression poses a contamination risk to stable regions of the galaxy. You will submit to custodial oversight. Not a request. A diagnosis. Then came the pause. Just long enough for hope to flicker. Then it died. If you resist, the alien said, you will be corrected. The transmission ended. For exactly 7 seconds, Earth was silent. Then humanity did what it always did when faced with extinction. It argued. Emergency summits exploded into chaos. Politicians screamed about sovereignty. Analysts debated intentions. Economists worried about markets. But soldiers knew better. Within hours, humanity made its first mistake. A coalition fleet assembled faster than anyone believed possible. American carrier groups, Chinese missile destroyers, Russian submarines, European air wings, Indian strike forces. Old enemies remembered they were the same species. The order was simple. Test them. A missile rose from the USS Gerald R. Ford, trailing fire and defiance. It struck the alien ship dead center. Nothing happened. Then the ship's face returned on every screen, expression calm, almost disappointed. You have chosen correction. Above the Atlantic, space tore open. Smaller black ships emerged, hundreds of them. Predatory, angular, precise. Human radar failed. Targeting systems scrambled. Pilots launched anyway. Missiles screamed. Cannons roared. Nothing worked. Aircraft didn't explode. They disassembled midair, leaving screaming pilots suspended in frozen horror. 9 minutes later, every human aircraft was gone. The aliens had not destroyed humanity's military. They had humiliated it. Then came the second transmission. This demonstration was limited. Submit now. Preserve your species. Leaders stared at casualty reports. Air wings erased. Naval formations disabled. Humanity had been slapped, mocked, measured. And somewhere, deep beneath Colorado mountains, an old man smiled. General Arthur Hale had retired 8 years ago. Cancer should have finished him. It hadn't. He watched the alien footage in silence, blood-stained handkerchief in hand. You ever been in a real fight, Lieutenant? He asked a young officer beside him. Yes, sir, she said. No, he said. You haven't. This isn't a fight. This is a demonstration. They want us scared. They want us obedient. And that, he whispered, eyes gleaming, is their first mistake. The Ascendancy had studied humanity for centuries. They knew our weapons, politics, psychology, everything. Except one thing, humans never truly lost. Not the way other species did. We accepted humiliation as a stage, a mask, a weapon. On global broadcasts, leaders spoke of surrender, compliance, survival. The aliens believed it. Every species eventually broke under observation. Every species knelt. Not humans. Deep underground, Hale smiled. Good, he whispered. Convince your enemy you're weak. Then teach them the cost of believing it. Above Earth, the alien ship waited, confident, patient, unaware. War had introduced itself politely. Humanity was about to answer in its native language. And humanity's native language was violence. Humanity did not wait. They never waited. While the Ascendancy believed Earth's leaders were compliant, humanity moved in shadows, underground, in orbit, and in places the aliens hadn't bothered to monitor. Factories churned in secret. Missile silos drilled deeper. Satellites once thought inert became weapons platforms. And in hidden bunkers, engineers and soldiers laughed at impossible calculations. The first move came not from a fleet, not from a missile, but from a single point, Los Angeles. A drone slipped through the city like smoke. Not armed with explosives. Not armed with guns. Armed with a virus. Not a computer virus, not a hacking tool. The Ascendancy had no operating system humans could touch. This was biological, engineered over decades, designed for a species they didn't even know existed, themselves. The drone pierced the alien ship's hull. Cameras, sensors, data conduits, everything it touched burned like a sun on ice. The aliens called it a local anomaly. Humans called it the first strike. Within hours, the Ascendancy realized their mistake. Humans were not following the rules. They weren't fighting fair. They were fighting unpredictable. A coordinated attack began, spanning the globe and orbit simultaneously. Submarines fired missiles loaded with experimental warheads. Aircraft that survived the first strike swooped from unexpected angles. Satellites released kinetic weapons with calculations only a human could make, exploiting minute orbital gaps the aliens assumed would never be used. Then came the humans no one had prepared for, the ghost fleets. Ships that had been declared obsolete, stripped for parts, and forgotten. Old battleships, cruisers, even rusted freighters retrofitted into war machines. They moved like shadows along coastlines, invisible on alien sensors until it was too late. And the humans in space. They weren't pilots. They were engineers, ex-astronauts, and civilians who had built a fight into the hulls of old space stations. They boarded alien drones and ships silently, dismantling systems with crowbars, explosives, and the peculiar human knack for improvisation. By the third day, the Ascendancy realized their most critical miscalculation. Humans didn't just adapt, they evolved during battle. Every attack they suffered was studied, twisted, and returned with interest. The first alien strike force over New York met a coordinated human defense unlike anything in recorded warfare. F-18s, retrofitted with electromagnetic pulse cannons, tore through drones mid-flight. Underground bunkers released railguns that punched holes through descending warships. And from the Brooklyn Bridge, soldiers launched manually aimed rocket pods that detonated precisely at alien weak points. It wasn't just combat. It was artistry. You're watching a species panic, the alien face reported to the consensus. They have no coordination, yet each attack is effective. Impossible, another voice hissed. They are primitive. They should fail. But failure was not in humanity's vocabulary. On the fourth day, the Ascendancy attempted a demonstration of their own, a weapon so massive it could erase a city with a thought. They selected Chicago. Calculations predicted perfect annihilation. Precision guaranteed. Humanity would kneel, finally. Instead, the city's population was gone. Not dead. Gone. Underground, civilians had been evacuated by teams of old military veterans who knew the city like the back of their hands. Above, the streets were littered with holographic decoys, drones disguised as tanks, and makeshift barricades designed to confuse alien sensors. When the weapon detonated, it hit nothing but empty streets. Nothing but air. Nothing but smoke rising from shattered sensors humans had planted days before. The aliens were stunned. Not by resistance. Not by casualties. By ingenuity. By the cold, methodical cruelty of human improvisation. "This cannot be anticipated," one alien whispered to another. Its voice trembled, a thing no ascendancy had ever done. Meanwhile, General Hale smiled. From his underground command center, he watched the chaos with a cigarette dangling from his fingers. "They think we'll break because we bleed," he muttered. "They're about to learn humans don't bleed, they strike." And strike they did. A network of underground railguns fired simultaneously along the U.S. eastern seaboard. Missiles armed with experimental warheads obliterated alien landing zones. Satellites launched a barrage of kinetic strikes on drones in orbit. Human boarding teams infiltrated enemy vessels, and in a move that would haunt the Ascendancy for centuries, they reprogrammed alien AI against its own fleet. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were rewriting the rules of war mid-battle, twisting alien technology, psychology, and expectation into a weapon against them. By the fifth day, the first Ascendancy ships began to retreat. Not all. Not many. But enough. Enough to send a signal that humanity was no ordinary species. And the final humiliation? The alien face appeared one last time on every screen, calm, pale, and expecting obedience. "Cease this nonsense. You will be destroyed." From the underground command center, Hale whispered into the mic. "Destroy us, huh? You first." And somewhere in orbit, a human pilot, ex-Navy, ex-civilian, ex-everything, laughed as he turned the Ascendancy's own weapons back on them. Because humans didn't just fight back. Humans retaliated. By the seventh day, the Ascendancy realized something terrifying. Humans weren't just fighting. Humans were predicting their thoughts before they had them. Every retreating ship found the skies mined with orbital projectiles humans had launched days ago. Every drone sent to intercept was met with countermeasures that should have been impossible, because humans had already studied the aliens' response patterns and exploited them faster than they could adjust. It wasn't strategy. It was instinct sharpened by centuries of chaos. And the Ascendancy began to panic. Not openly. Not in a way the humans could see. But their reports, intercepted through hacked channels, were laced with fear. One phrase repeated itself again and again. "They are learning too fast." Deep underground, Hale stood before a bank of screens. His face was gaunt, shadowed by fluorescent lights and cigarette smoke. "Learning too fast?" he muttered. "Lieutenant, they're learning nothing. They're about to unlearn the universe." The plan had been simple: bait them into thinking humanity was cornered, compliant, predictable. And then, the twist. From the ruins of Chicago, a fleet of repurposed civilian drones, delivery drones, agricultural drones, even toy drones retrofitted with explosives, rose in the thousands. They moved as one, a storm of metal and fire no AI could parse. Every Ascendancy craft in the city's vicinity was struck simultaneously, dismantled, and turned against the rest of their formation. The aliens had prepared for human weapons, human fleets, even human desperation. They had not prepared for improvisation on this scale. And it got worse. Hale pressed a button. A map lit up. Across North America, Europe, and Asia, the humans had activated a web of synchronized attacks. Subterranean missile silos, dormant for decades, fired with split-second precision. Satellites dropped kinetic rods, slicing through enemy armor before the aliens could react. Boarding teams hijacked alien vessels and redirected them into their own fleet. The Ascendancy's perfect evaluation was unraveling. An alien officer, face gray and flawless, stared at the unfolding chaos. This is illogical. They should be broken." "They are," another answered. "But not in the way we expected." Every strike, every maneuver, was a lesson in human audacity. Civilians turned soldiers, soldiers turned engineers, engineers turned space commanders. Each contributed to a battlefield the Ascendancy couldn't comprehend. Every time the aliens thought they had the upper hand, humanity responded with something more inventive, more cruel, more unexpected. And then came the final move. Hale activated Project Leviathan. It had been humanity's secret for decades, a fleet of modified cargo ships, nuclear subs, and abandoned oil rigs converted into mobile weapons platforms. The Ascendancy believed Earth's cities were defenseless once the main fleets were destroyed. They were wrong. These platforms emerged from every ocean, river, and harbor simultaneously. They fired not in unison, but in a choreography so precise it appeared psychic. Alien vessels disintegrated midair, torn apart by unconventional munitions, magnetic pulse torpedoes, bioengineered microswarms, and improvised explosives capable of penetrating armor no technology should allow. The humans weren't just fighting. They were teaching the Ascendancy a lesson in humility. Across the globe, screens flickered. The alien face appeared one last time. Calm. Disappointed. You cannot comprehend the cost of your actions. Hale smiled. Try me. And then humanity revealed the final truth. It wasn't just weapons. It was psychology. Misdirection. Sacrifice. The Ascendancy had assumed humans valued life the way they did, predictable, logical, ordered. They had assumed humans would avoid risk, avoid exposure, avoid suffering when the odds were impossible. They were wrong. Every human casualty had been anticipated. Every loss was a tool. Every civilian evacuation, every tactical retreat, every feint, they had been pieces on a board the aliens couldn't see. And now, that board was turning. Every Ascendancy ship was being lured into traps, disassembled by humans who had turned improvisation into an art form. By the end of the day, a quarter of the alien fleet was destroyed. Another quarter crippled. Communications were fragmented. Commanders were dead, replaced by automated drones running corrupted algorithms. The Ascendancy had never encountered an enemy that could fight while pretending to lose, that could bleed strategically, that could improvise carnage with elegance. Hale leaned back, cigarette glowing. You wanted to test us? He whispered. We just passed your test, and failed yours. The aliens didn't scream. They didn't beg. They recalculated. And somewhere in the void of space, for the first time in their history, they realized they had underestimated a species that thrived on chaos, ingenuity, and stubborn survival. The humans had turned what should have been defeat into victory. Not just survival, but annihilation tailored to humiliate. And Earth, battered, bloodied but unbowed, had just begun to speak its true language. The Ascendancy did not surrender. Not in words. Not in signal. Not in thought. But the panic was unmistakable. Their calculations, their centuries of study, their fleets, their weapons, all useless. Every assumption about humanity had been shredded in less than a week. From orbit, Hale watched the remnants of the alien command fleet spin in chaos. Ships were retreating, or attempting to, but the humans had anticipated every escape route. Orbital nets, gravitational traps, and hijacked drones cut off exits like the fingers of a steel hand. Every vessel left behind became another weapon, turned inward on its own fleet. On Earth, civilians cheered. Soldiers laughed. Engineers and technicians high-fived each other over screens showing alien technology imploding under human ingenuity. And Hale smiled a cruel, satisfied smile. A final transmission came from the Ascendancy. The face appeared calm, almost bored. You are resilient. But your victories are Pyrrhic. You will not survive what is coming. Hale tapped his cigarette against the ashtray. Funny thing about humans, he said to the lieutenant beside him. We don't care what's coming. We make it regret it. Then came the twist the aliens hadn't foreseen. Project Leviathan wasn't just a fleet. It was a lesson in applied chaos. Each destroyed ship's debris was collected, reverse-engineered, and redeployed within hours. Alien weapons fired at humans now returned home like boomerangs. Their countermeasures were hijacked. Their navigation systems corrupted. Their communications became a self-destruct timer. And every attempt to regroup only played into humanity's hands. The aliens had expected fear, compliance, predictability. They had expected humans to kneel. They had not expected laughter. From the Pacific, a refitted aircraft carrier fired its final salvo, not missiles, not bombs, but a network of micro-drones carrying incendiary payloads and bioengineered nanites designed to dissolve alien hulls. Ships erupted like fireworks, black holes folding in on themselves. And then, the humans delivered the coup de grace. A single transmission hijacked every surviving Ascendancy drone. Welcome to Earth. We hope you enjoyed the hospitality. Every alien vessel fell into coordinated traps. Every escape route was mined. Every attempt at counterattack was turned against them. By midnight, half of the invading fleet was destroyed, the other half crippled. Command structures lay in ruins. The aliens had learned the cost of underestimating humanity. It was total, devastating, and unforgettable. Hale's voice echoed through the command center. We taught them something they'll never forget. And we didn't even break a sweat. The lieutenant, weary but exhilarated, asked quietly, Sir, do you think they'll come back? Hale's smile was thin and dark. Eventually. But they'll remember this lesson every time. And every time, it will cost them more than they can imagine. Above Earth, the alien face flickered one last time, expression unreadable. For the first time in recorded history, the Ascendancy hesitated. They had faced species that surrendered, species that feared them, species that fought poorly. Humanity had done none of these. They had survived, adapted, and retaliated with precision, cunning, and merciless creativity. Earth had not only survived. Earth had taught the galaxy a lesson. Hale leaned back, eyes on the screens. War, he whispered, isn't about firepower. It's about will. And the human will. He gestured at the screens, at the fires, at the wreckage, at the chaos that was now under human control. Is something no one can predict, and nothing can break. Not aliens. Not empires. Not logic. Nothing. Somewhere, a child laughed at the sound of distant explosions. Somewhere, a widow wept with relief. Somewhere, a soldier cracked a joke about alien coffee and laughter filled a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Ascendancy had underestimated a species that thrived on defiance, chaos, and ingenuity. Humanity had turned the apocalypse into art. And as Hale lit another cigarette, he whispered, almost to himself, So you think you know war? You haven't seen anything yet. The universe was taking notes. And humanity, bruised, bloodied, but unbeaten, was just getting started.